Oh, for heaven's sake, pull yourselves together. Welcome to another week of Wogan. I hope you had a good weekend. We spent hours clearing up the studio after Friday's invasion by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I didn't have to help out, but there was a fortune to be made in the empties. And tonight's music comes courtesy of a man who has spent the last few years traveling the length and breadth of Britain, only to discover that we're on everywhere. And he's finally given in and agreed to join us for a song and a chat. That's Sir Harry Secombe. Never heard of him, eh? Now, we'll also be hearing the remarkable story of a young lady who's given just days to live, and against all the odds, she made a miraculous recovery from a potentially fatal disease. That's gain or foe. I'm sure you'd be delighted and astonished with this story. Now, my first guest has spent much of his life in exile, forced to leave his native Tibet in 1959 when neighboring China invaded. Since then, he's appealed continuously for China to respect the human rights of the Tibetan people, of whom 120,000 are, like him, refugees. So far, to no avail. He's been the spiritual and political leader of the Tibetan people for the last 54 years. It's a great honor to have him here. Welcome, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. All right, okay. Now, you were discovered to be the reincarnated Dalai Lama at 2. How did they know that it was you?
This is quite complicated, I think, stories. After, you see, third Dalai Lama passed away, then there was some indication that the reincarnation of his will appear in eastern direction. Then, you know, the famous lake, sometimes I call the ancient television. You see, there you can see, you see, I mean, sometimes it's letters, sometimes it's the country or village or people.
On the lake?
Yes, on the lake. So you see, in that lake, you see, some letters appears. So that the name of my place, the area from where I come. So then actually the search party visited that area. Then in fact, you see, at that time, you see, they already, I think, the 3 sort of candidates. So when search party actually reached my place, the 1 candidate already passed away. So only remain, you see, 2 candidates. Then you see, through some the experiment, through some, you see, investigation, then it seems, you see, I performed, I think, more successful.
Test.
Yes, test. That's right. Yeah. And perhaps, I think, good luck. So I got the,
Yes, you were taken away at 2 to live in the huge palace in Lhasa. You must have been very lonely.
Oh yes, sometimes.
Did you have any other children to play with? Or
no.
Just monks?
Or monks and some other, you see, laymen, like, you see, they were taking care about the house or the building. So including the sweepers.
And then at 15, you became the head of state, which was very young to be the head of state, 15.
Yes.
And
yes, and especially, you see, at that time, the circumstances really is serious.
Yes, and then you went to China when you were 19 to meet the leaders of communist China. How did you feel about going to meet them? Were you nervous, afraid?
Oh yes, very much.
Now, what did you
Firstly, you see, the Tibetan attitudes towards the Chinese communists is something very, you see, uncomfortable, of course. Then, you see, under such circumstances, you see, meeting with their leader, so naturally, you see, very much excited. And however, you see, when I met, you see, actually the Chairman Mao and some other, you see, Chinese leaders,
Zhou
Enlai and Liu Shaoqi, all those dignitaries, actually, you see, my meeting with Chairman Mao, you see, how to say, something really memorable, how to say, something really, I mean, very, very impressive. Now, since, you see, I spent at least a few hours, you see, with him, you see, at different occasions. I developed a certain amount of, how to say, respect. And I consider him as a true revolutionary and, of course, he's a great leader. And when we discuss, you see, the way of his, you see, talk, and something really, you see, very straightforward, very frank, and his, you see, the way of his contact with other people is very humble, very gentle.
You've always kept the light of Tibet alive. What hope do you have for the future of Tibet and your people?
As Tibet nation, it's a few thousand years, you see, the historical sort of, you see, the cultural heritage. And now, you see, I think during, you see, those now last, you see, few decades, I think Tibetan nation somehow, you see, I think proved by themselves, you see, Tibetan nation as a, I think, with rich cultural heritage, and most important thing is a Tibetan as, I think, the peaceful nation, and the quite Tibetan as, you see, jovial, you see, people. So, you see, my, you see, hope, future Tibet will be firstly completely demilitarized nation, will be a zone of peace, so that not only benefit for Tibetan, but also is a benefit for other neighbors.
And you would like to go back there and be with your people, obviously. Have you been back to Tibet since you left?
No, no. Since '59, no.
Do you think your chances are getting better of going back?
Oh, yes, certainly. I think, you see, according to the recent, you see, events, the worldwide events, I think very, very, I think the positive, you see, change. And in China itself, now there are a lot of, you see, changing now, actually, is taking place. Now, then most important thing is the Tibetan nation's determination. It's an unshakable determination is there. So I think, you see, things, so within a few years' time, I think things will change.
Can Tibet, following all those years of Chinese domination and settling by many millions of Chinese, can it ever be the same place? Can the people ever regain that kind of religious fervor? And can it be the same kind of society as
No,
as
no,
you
certainly not. We ourselves, you see, know the drawbacks of the past, you see, situation. So since last, you see, now more than 30 years, we try to promote the democracy principle. So now future Tibet will be democratic, you see, a nation. And then I personally, you see, prefer secularism.
But the people won't regard you anymore as the embodiment of God on earth?
Actually, you see, according to Buddhism, there's no God. There's no, how to say, creator. You see, you see, Buddhists consider, I mean, many, you see, Tibetan, you see, consider me as their, how to say, the guru or their teacher, and some, I mean, who have some, you see, I think, special blessing. So in any way, you see, I decided I will not participate in any form of leadership in the future of Tibet. I will remain as the ordinary citizen of Tibet nation. Then, you see, I really, you see, prefer be a simple Buddhist monk.
His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Now, music from a man who began his performing career as a choir boy. An unlikely start for someone who went on to appear on the same stage as the fan dancers of the legendary Windmill Theatre, and who later conquered the airwaves as Neddy Seagoon. And for his memorable portrayal of Pickwick on Broadway, he won a Tony Award. And a decade ago, he received a knighthood for his services to entertainment and charity. And in recent years, he's inspired and entertained viewers in his role as presenter of the popular Sunday afternoon program Highway. Here, with a lovely song, Father of Girls, and so he is, a track from his new album, Yours Sincerely. Welcome, Harry Secombe.
When you're the father of boys, how you worry. But when you're the father of girls, you do more than that, you pray. From the time of diaper and pin, till the time they cry, don't come in, till the time you gown them in white and give them away. You worry night and day. When she's a plain little girl, how you worry. But when she's a beautiful thing, you do more than that, you pray. Boys come round when they want to date. Girls may only stay home and wait. When she's out, you sit up all night with her first baby toy. You trust her, but worry, for you were once a boy. When you're the father of boys, how you worry. But when you're the father of girls, you do more than that, you
All right.
Hang on.
Oh, God. And a father of boys as well.
2 boys and 2 girls, pigeon pair.
So, I mean, you got the message of that song. You can
It is,
feel
isn't it?
that song,
Yes,
can't you?
I can, yes. 2 boys and 2 girls. Andrew is the eldest boy, Jennifer's the eldest girl, and then there's David and Katie.
Did they all follow you into showbiz?
Well, Jennifer's here at the Beam, you know, in the publicity
God
department.
bless her.
Yes, indeed. She does very well, you know. Jennifer. David's an actor. No, Andrew's an actor, rather. Plays non-speaking parts. Husbands. It struck home here and there. Yeah, he's a good actor. He just finished in The Invisible Man in Stratford East. Did very well. Katie's an actress. She's at the Bristol Vic, Bristol Old Vic School.
Did you encourage him to go in?
Well, not really, because, you know, having been in the business yourself, you wonder what's going to happen to them. And they've only seen the end product of years of work. So you wonder,
Is that what you are,
it's
there?
a
You're
good
the
idea.
end product of
I'm the
years
end
of
product of years of end product of hanging about. Yes. But,
did your girls cause you anxieties over the years?
well,
I mean,
yes,
the song was true, isn't it?
I began to get a bit Victorian when they bring boys home, you know. You think, what time do you call this? 8:30? You know, that sort of thing. But with boys as well, you worry about them. I mean, I remember Andrew having a motorbike, and every time I went out, I got frightened because you read all these things about accidents, and he never had one, thank heaven.
Oh, that was lucky.
Yeah.
This is your first personal LP for a long time, isn't it?
Yes, I made a lot of albums with choirs and things, Westminster Abbey Choir and the Durham Cathedral Choir, but this is the first one for a long time. And I thought at the age of 70, you'd get it down before the voice goes.
You're never 70.
I'm 70, all down the left-hand side.
We won't speculate on what the rest of you is age. And the old,
There's hell in there.
You've kept the old famous can belto, haven't you?
Yes, well, fortunately, yes. Touch any wood around. No, well, I
No.
touched my foot. Yes,
I've been very lucky, actually, because I went to a marvellous old singing teacher for 12 years, and he taught me how to use my voice properly. And it's still, you know, the technique's very handy.
Shouldn't you be slowing down a bit?
I don't think so.
An old
I put
bloke
casters
like.
on me before long.
I remember years ago, about 9 years ago it would be, you had to lose weight because you were very overweight. The doctor in Australia, somebody
Indeed,
said, lose
yes,
a bit of
yes.
weight, for goodness sake.
He said, I'll give you 2 years at the most if you don't lose weight, Harry. A doctor in Woolloomooloo.
And you came on, and I was interviewing, it was a
Oh,
Saturday
yes.
night or something, and you said, Myra wasn't too pleased, 'cause since you lost weight, you lost your sparkle.
That's right,
That's
yeah.
right, yeah.
I think it's back now.
But it came back, didn't
Yes,
it?
it came back.
But do you think you did? When you lost weight, you were very slim. Do you think that you lost something with
Well,
the
actually,
weight?
I wasn't very slim. I went down to 14.5 stone, which is heavy in anybody else. But I looked gaunt, and people said, he's dying, you know. He's got the lurg eye or something. But I felt very much better after it. And when I got used to dieting, you know, eat as much as you like, but don't swallow.
Yeah.
When I got used to that, I began to feel much better. I mean, I could cross my legs and do strange things like that.
That's terribly important for a man.
I bet you can't do it.
Get out of it. How did you celebrate your 70th birthday?
It was on my golf classic. You know, every year at the Lord's Taverners, as you well
Yeah.
know as an ex-president.
Of course.
We have this golf classic, and I thought I'd go around in 70. I didn't. But we had a great time, and I actually won a Rose Bowl for the first time. That I won a prize on my own golf classic.
You had to give it back, of course.
Well, no, I'm hanging on to it,
Hanging
mate.
on?
Yes. You won a few, haven't you? with that? Eh?
Very ungallant.
No, I'm keeping it,
Hey,
mate.
what sort of prizes and gifts did they give you? For
Well,
your
very
70th?
good. I mean, you get golf clubs, you get one at a time. And
Yeah.
you get Rose Bowls and glass decanters and
Yeah.
some golf balls,
Slimming
couple of
recipes.
teas. Oh, yes, all big stuff, you know.
Yeah. And Highway, of course, was tremendous.
Oh, great. That's a great
You
program.
landed on your feet with Highway, as it were. I mean, you hide the orchestra very well for Highway. I mean, I find you standing on some promontory.
Always on a hill.
All the
yeah.
strings and the brass and everything going like
Yes,
fury.
that's right.
And you're there on your
But
tongue.
of course, it's all done with mirrors. You know. We have to record the music in advance. It's impossible, you know, to stick an orchestra up a tree. Or
I don't see why.
you try it. Look at them, they're all big lads. So we have to record the music in advance, and then I sing along with it. That's the trick. If you go, you know, it's murder, but you sing along with it, it's different.
Yeah.
Then the effort shows, you see.
What do you think's the secret of Highway's success? Because it's been going highly successfully for 8 years, hasn't it?
We started in 1983, yes.
Yeah.
I think the success is due to the fact that it gets people out of the house. You know, on television, you see lovely scenes of places perhaps they visited on holiday, and we go abroad now and again. And the music is good to listen to, I hope. We have lovely guests. That's the important thing. The guests are important because they have great stories to tell. Ordinary people have done extraordinary things. You know yourself on this program, you have them. And they're the backbone of the program. They provide inspiration for the people who watch and probably going through similar kind of things that these people have gone through and come out the other side smiling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, are you a practicing Christian yourself?
Yes, I mean, I'm always in church every week.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm not a guru. I'm just an ordinary sinner asking the questions I think the viewer would like the answers to.
I'm just thinking it's a very hard schedule for you. I'm not harking back. You're a very healthy and well-kept man for your age. But I mean,
Like a lawn.
I mean, it is a hard schedule that you follow, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but you know, it keeps me alive. I think the moment you sort of lie back and relax and rest on your laurels, they turn into wreaths, you know. You've got to keep going. And we never retire at our age, do we, in our business?
Well, hopefully not.
Well,
I hope
you're
you
my
won't
age yet,
anyway.
but no. Keep going, mate.
Clinging to the wreckage.
Clinging to the wreckage, Jim.
Yeah. Sir Harry Secombe. Sir Harry Secombe, probably the most popular artist of the last 50 years, I'd say. Now, finally tonight, the near miraculous tale of a lady who a year ago was battling bravely against a mystery illness. Now, doctors were baffled, sending her for psychiatric tests, blood tests, massive doses of steroids. She lost weight, her eyesight failed. Finally, she plunged into a coma, her body unable to fight off the infection, which was finally diagnosed as the rare brain disease, cerebral toxoplasmosis. Now, she was given only days to live, but as you're about to see, She's all right now. Welcome, Gaynor Folk. Now, can we just reiterate that a little over a year ago, you were given 2 days to live?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So let's go back on it and say, when did you start feeling unwell? And how did you feel?
Well, it was back in September last year, and I'd gone up to the motor show in Birmingham, and I felt a bit fluey and sort of sniffly and things, and as far as I was concerned, I was coming down with flu.
That was just, they were the symptoms. You just felt fluey, as if you, maybe a day in bed would make you feel better.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, so what happened then? You came back and you went to your GP.
Well, I came back, and the friend I went up to Birmingham with took my mum aside and said, look, there's something wrong. But I didn't know that he was saying this.
Well, what did he notice that was wrong? I mean, apart from, I mean, if it was only just a flu, he wouldn't have called your mum aside, would he?
I kept repeating myself, apparently, when I was away, and I'd say something to him, but not just once, about 5 times. And he said, okay, I heard you the first time.
And you didn't notice yourself doing this?
No, not at all.
So what did the doctor say, first of all?
Mum called the doctor out finally and said, look, something's definitely wrong. And Mum was going into hospital for an angiogram herself. And the doctor said, oh, she's just worried about you going into hospital. It's panic, she's worried. And Mum tried to keep me off work, and I said, no, I'm going to work. So when I got to work, they said, you had a phone call from your mum, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I thought it was this is weird. I'm fine. I've got a bit of a headache and I feel a bit fluey, but I think I'll get over this. I'm fine. And I was working in a building society, so obviously using computers and calculators, but I was staring at it as if to say, what is this thing in front of me, you know? And they noticed that I was adding figures backwards and things, and thought it was a bit strange. So they took me home.
Again, you weren't conscious you were doing this, were you?
No, not at all.
So they took you home, and then were you frightened at all?
At that particular point, no. I had a headache, and that's all I was thinking of.
But you didn't know exactly wrong. So then you got worse.
I got progressively worse, yes. And they said, is anyone home? And I said, well, no, but I'll be okay. So they dropped me home, and I went in and took what I thought was one tablet. And I sort of panicked, found an empty bottle, and thought, oh, God, no, I've taken an overdose, and dialed 999, which is totally unusual, you know? So I dialed 999, and the ambulance came out, and they tried to reassure me and said, calm down, you haven't taken an overdose, you wouldn't have dialed 999. And then they took me into the casualty hospital nearby, and they thought they had a psychiatric patient, because I just wasn't making any sense at all whatsoever. You know, it was just mumbo jumbo backwards and talking really fast and things. And so they transferred me to a psychiatric hospital, and they did a few brain tests and things and decided that it was definitely medical, not mental.
So what state were you in when you were given 2 days to live?
When I was given 2 days to live, I had mass malnutrition. My kidneys were failing. They could tell I couldn't see. My lips were all stuck together. But I was still semi-conscious and walking around.
But your parents weren't given any hope at all of your recovery.
No hope at all. They said, look, can you because the doctors didn't know what was wrong for a start off. And it baffled even the doctors, and they said, well, the way she's deteriorating, there's just no hope of her living.
So what saved you?
Determination, I think. I'm a fighter at the end. I mean, I had the mass dose of steroids, but that wasn't doing anything. Just totally didn't touch me at all.
So how did they eventually find out what was wrong?
They took me to Bristol on a life or death trip. The doctor said, no, she can't go, she's too ill. And Mum said, look, you've got to take her. I mean, if we don't do something, we're just going to lose her. So they took me to Frenchy Hospital in Bristol, and I had a magnetic resonance imager scan, which is an amazing machine that doesn't use dyes or radiation. And it can pick out small, minuscule parasites, which was what it was. And they also decided to do a brain biopsy, which means taking a small piece of the brain away, putting it under the microscope. And they found the traces of toxoplasmosis.
So this is what it was, toxoplasmosis.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, before we go on any further, I mean, you were an extreme case.
Yes, I'd had an appendix operation before that, so it shot straight to the brain.
But toxoplasmosis has been around quite a long time. It's not all that uncommon.
No.
So it should have been identified before it was.
Well, apparently we all carry the virus. and we don't know we're carrying it, but we won't get the symptoms. But if you're a pregnant woman or a baby, or you've had an operation where your immune deficiency's down, then you're highly susceptible and it shoots straight to the brain.
Now, toxoplasmosis, how do you catch it?
It's a big debate going on about it, but there were two things. The one could have been soft cheeses, and the other one, the most definite one, was cats.
Cat droppings.
If a cat had been touching food, and you know, cats go to the toilet and they scrape just hide where they've been, and if a cat had it on his paws and hadn't been immunised and touched some food, then that's it.
In fact, in France, they check every pregnant woman for toxoplasmosis. They run that as a statutory test.
That's right.
And in Spain as well, I think, but not here.
Not here. It's never been heard of
And
to that extent.
It can be the cause of all sorts of complications at birth.
That's right.
Yeah. So what was your first sign of recovery? I mean, there you were. They'd given you two days to live, and then you began to pull out of it.
Well, apparently, which I still can't remember, I sat up, asked for a cup of coffee, and I wanted to know where Mum was. And that was the first sign. And everyone was shock horror, you know, she shouldn't be sitting up. But Mum had been talking to me, I mean, all the way through the coma, and I'd like to say to people, I could hear while I was in the coma, I can remember that. So I think talking to me while I was in the coma, it really helped.
It's been a long road back, though, hasn't it?
It has been a hell of a struggle, but worth it in the end.
Well, you look terrific. You're pursuing a new career now.
I am, acting career, yes.
Yeah. Well, we wish you luck for it with it, and indeed, I'm sure your story, the heroic and one that it is, and the extraordinary story that it is, will give hope to a lot of people, and also, hopefully, make people more cautious around cats and dogs, and be sure that the standards of hygiene are maintained.
That's right.
And that,
I'd like to say that cats, I mean, I want a cat myself now, you know, I'm not afraid of cats. It is just in rare cases, so
yeah.
I'm not trying to frighten people.
No, of course not. We mustn't try and do that either. But Gaynor, thank you for coming on. Tell us, and I hope your career as an actress will go from strength to strength. Gaynor Folk. Thanks to Gaynor. Thanks to Sir Harry Secombe and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. That's it for tonight. I'll be back on Wednesday, maintaining discipline and ensuring fair play. There's no show. I'm refereeing the football. See you back here on Friday. Who's got my whistle?